Now finally we come to the last problem of this first worksheet, which is the integral. Now they have given the integral in a slightly different way. We have to calculate the integral in between -1 to 1, -1 to 2. Now here the graph they have given is for y equals fx. And we have to find the integral of f2x, right? Now here we should have some slightly more attention for this 2x, this like the domain that we are using. So how are we going to start this problem? One method that we can do is we can just think about this 2x as z, right? So simply what we have is the integral in between -1 to 2 of fz, right? And there is another thing that we should look for, right? Now just forget about this limits for a moment and let's see how this function behaves when you have f2x. So if I consider the original function y equals fx, it is defined in between -4 to 4, right? That means the domain or the inputs for this function will run through -4 to 4. For all these values, it will have an answer. And how about something like this? What if I input -5 for this function? Can we find out an answer? No, with these details, we cannot find an answer for the function at -5. So in that case, we have to consider that the domain of this function is only in between these 2 points, right? So whatever the input we use, we should have it in between -4 to 4, right? So just consider this notation or this way of considering the function. Now if we have this, like if they have given the function like this, f of 2x, how about the value of this thing at x equals -4? Now see, at the beginning we said the domain of fx is from -4 to 4. So how about an input of x equals -4 to this function? See, when x is equal to -4, the value inside will be 2 times -4, which will give you the function at -8, which is away from the domain of this function. That means we cannot consider any value at x equals -4 to this function. We should not consider this as an input when the function is given like this. It is not compatible, right? Now that's something we can see, or that something we should observe when they have given a notation like this. Okay, this is kind of an extraction from the original function. So we should see the picture, we should get the correct idea of the nature of this function when they have done some slight changes, right? So in a similar way, all the values in between -4 to -2, although we can consider these values for fx, we cannot consider them when the function is given like this, because whatever the value you use here as x, when you input as 2 times x, it will go beyond the domain. And the same thing will happen for all the values in between 2 and 4 as well, although they are inside the domain of the original function. And for the values outside the domain of the original function, no point of talking about them being considered for this function, right? And okay, so now what will happen to the graph of this function when they have given it like f of 2x? Now here we can see the inputs for this notation can only be considered in between -2 to +2. Other than that, we cannot have any inputs. And also, when x is equal to -2, the value of the function will be f times 2 times f of 2 times -2, and that will be f of -4, which is, now since this is the original function, f of -4 will be 1. That f of -4 will be 1. That is given in the original data, right? So in other way, like if we are to draw the curve for this one at x equals -2, the value of this will be equal to 1, right? The value of that new function will be 1, right? And how about -1? When x is equal to -1, f of 2, now I am substituting x equals -1 to this one. So it will be 2 times -1, which is f of -2. And by reading the original curve, original function, f at -2 will be equal to 1. In other words, the value of this one at -1 will be equal to 1. So at -1 it will be 1. And you can see by completing the remaining terms, you will have the new curve like this. Okay. So simply what we have to do is, as they have asked to find the value of 2x, f of 2x in between -1 to 2, we just have to calculate the area in between, under this new curve that I have drawn in green color. Okay. So we'll meet in the next video for the other worksheet.